Hello, I am Nathan Powell. I am the CEO and CTO of United Investing LLC, which is creating a protocol called Axor, which will allow us to invest in any price and allow users all over the world to invest in anything that is investable worldwide. And we're going to go more into the possibilities there. But just to explain this scene, this is, obviously some sort of African scene where we're showing that even in a marginalized community that doesn't really have an investment infrastructure, you should be able to invest in any price using a smartphone app. And the name Axor has really two components. AX stands for access, and the XOR is a computer science logic term which means that you have to have a positive and a negative in order for something to work. And in this case, the Axor protocol needs somebody to take two sides of a contract in order for our contract to work, because we're building a protocol to create smart contracts, and we're going to go more into that. So let me introduce you to our team that we have so far. All of us are working part-time, and all of us are unpaid so far, working only for equity. We're all in it for different reasons, and I would say that I've been really encouraged by all the people that are very interested in helping bring to pass this vision of helping people get access to the financial markets worldwide through a decentralized app. And so I'm very grateful for everyone who's become involved. So the problem we're trying to solve again is that the financial markets are fragmented in more than one dimension, and we'll go more into that later. And our solution is that we're going to allow anyone to create a market in anything. So a market that tracks the price of anything. As long as that price is publicly available and can be defined unambiguously, you can create a market in it. Each of those market makers is going to be able to capture a lot of value by doing that. But our investment thesis is that by investing directly into the platform overall, through investing through our token, our app token, you're going to be able to capture value from all of these markets, not just one particular market. So we will be having a token sale. There are multiple reasons that we need a token. One is to control access, and the other is to provide a token that manages reputation. And we'll go more into why that is necessary later. So right now we're trying to sell our pre-sale block. This pre-sale block is necessary so that we can do the legal work to actually have the public token sale. And I also want to use it to fund development so that we're further along in the development by the time that we actually have the public sale. We're going to reserve some for the team, and then the rest is going to also go to a foundation block, which will be sold off in later stages of the token sale. So the 20% is just going to be the initial public sale, and then we're going to slowly sell off the rest of the foundation block. This will be used to further fund the development. And my hope is that we'll be able to raise millions of dollars in the token sale, but in the pre-sale you're able to get in at a better rate than you would if you just participated in the token sale, is what we're saying. So here's a basic use case of how our smart contract protocol would work. So with our protocol, you're able to create an Axor, and an Axor is a smart contract that tracks the price of one investment. So for example, let's say that you wanted to track the investment Uber. So the very basic use case is that a long investor and a short investor come in, they each put 100 units in to the smart contract. The smart contract actually holds that money, the Axor does, and after some amount of time, let's say price has changed and both sides decide to withdraw their money. Let's say that the price increases 10%, then that means that the long investor is able to withdraw 110, they gain 10%, and the short investor is only able to withdraw 90 because they lost 10%. They were hoping that the price would go down, and they were wrong, so they lost 10%. So our key innovation is allowing millions of people to come and take long or short positions on a single Axor contract, which is tracking a single price. In this case, I put the example of Uber, but it could really be anything. The idea is that you could be a retail investor and hold that position for years if you wanted to. Come in at any time, leave at any time, and withdraw your money. So this is a challenge because in order to allow millions of people to come in and do the smart contracts are very expensive to execute in terms of computation. And so the algorithms for keeping everything balanced and updated have to execute in a very short amount of time. And so it's not intuitive how to implement a lot of algorithms that banks typically do as these big batch processes that happen every night. We have to run a lot faster. So we've invented algorithms that can do all the tracking of everything and very little computation. So this is a view of the overall protocol and what are the main pieces. So I already introduced the long and short positions, and those positions are each in Axor, and that's what these circles represent as different Axors, these smart contracts that track a price of something. And this is trying to display the variety of things you could track. You could track traditional things like, a commodity index or a Facebook or even something a little bit less traditional, which is a privately held company that doesn't really expect people to trade on it, but their market cap is still publicly known and something that you could potentially track, something like Uber. Then there's, you could obviously do currencies, but then you can do things that are really untraditional, which are collectibles and real estates or other assets that really aren't even for sale. But you could still track a price, such as a Zillow's estimate on a house, and take a long or short position. You could do something similar with a collectible. The prices of collectibles are updated every time every time it's sold, and so you could come in, and then the next time it's sold, then you'd have the updated price, and you could buy or sell from it. So you can see the logo in the background, and that represents the fact that all of these are part of the Axor protocol. And by investing in the token, you'd be able to gain from the transactions in all these markets. So the miners are very important because they're a group of computers that actually copy the prices from whatever markets make the prices publicly available and copy those prices into the Axor protocol. So for example, if you were tracking something like Facebook, a miner actually is responsible for copying that from NASDAQ and then submitting it to the Axor protocol. So how this works is we do have the notion of a block of transactions, which is a list of transactions that people want to make. Either they want to get into a position or out of a position. And that block of transactions are submitted to the miners. The miners then take each of those transactions, look up the prices, and then update the protocol. The miners can be specialized into their area of expertise. We have the notion that each of the Axors can be part of a topic. I'm calling it Axori, which is a group of Axors. And so each miner can mine an Axori, which is a group of Axors. So we have a marketing strategy for the market makers and also for the end users. But first, talking about the market makers, we want to show them that they stand to gain a large percentage of the transaction fees for the markets that they actually create. So they split the transaction fees between themselves, the market makers, and the miners. So the miners are incentivized to update the prices because they get also a cut of the transaction fees, but so do the market makers. And what's incredible about this is it's actually very easy to create a market. It's very easy to create an Axor because really all that needs to be done is to create an unambiguous definition of the price in text form that people setting up miners can read and make sure that they're sending in the price that will meet the consensus price because they've conformed to the unambiguous price definition. The price definition could include the exchange, the symbol, the type of price. I mean, there's different types of prices such as the last price or, a sliding window, or there are many other ways you could define the price. But you have to come up with an unambiguous way of defining that. So the great thing about a lot of our targeted end users, which we're imagining will be in countries that don't have a good investment infrastructure already, and want access to be able to save and invest and earn a reasonable interest rate is that they're in markets where smartphone usage is growing exponentially. And so we have an opportunity to get in when they haven't already been accustomed to an existing investment infrastructure. We have the advantage really of being able to make something that they can view as really kind of their native platform that they grew up with. So some different marketing strategies. Obviously, there's financial literacy. Remittance customers are customers that are transferring money between countries using some of these cryptocurrencies, but we have the opportunity to tap into that. Women and girls. So this is an opportunity to empower women and girls with a smartphone app because it's something that you can do completely anonymously without having to fill out forms or do any complicated in-person process. It's something you can just sign up using your smartphone and create an Axor wallet and then use that to invest. The other great thing is that we can allow local investing in terms of anybody can be a market maker, and so that means that local investments are a possibility. And even if the country isn't really set up infrastructure-wise to allow that, but as long as there can be a publicly available price, then local investing will be possible through exposing those investments through the Axor protocol. We're not planning on actually attacking credit score estimation ourselves, but what we can do is we can allow people to show that they have a certain amount of investments through our platform. And then, others that are working on the credit score problem will be able to use that information as part of the credit score story to make that determination. So how do we compare to others that are trying to do similar things? There's a DAO called BitShares, and they are actually trying to create something somewhat similar with a contract where you can track a price, but they're really focused on business to business settings. So, for example, they want to help retail businesses hedge against changes in value of cryptocurrencies, which is not really what we're trying to do. We're trying to do something broader and a lot more focused on end users rather than small businesses. So there are companies that actually provide something similar where you can invest using a cryptocurrency and track a price of something. There's Whale Club. They allow you to just deposit Bitcoin, and then you can immediately track a few investments that they have available. But the difference between them and us is that they are a centralized platform that is not open source, is not decentralized. And what that means is that the broad applications that are going to be available through Axor are not necessarily going to be fulfilled there. And there's also the trust issue, is that when it's a centralized platform, you have to trust them with your money. Whereas with the Axor platform, the smart contract itself will be holding the cryptocurrency values that are used to track prices. And so as long as you can trust the code, which we're going to make open source and everybody's going to have a chance to review, and we're going to do lots of security audits, then you don't have to trust a person to hold your money for you and not embezzle it or something. So obviously we have some legal compliance issues to work through. So we're creating an open source software foundation, not a brokerage. We're not creating an exchange or a casino. We've done our research and we found that the token cell itself is unlikely to be regulated as a security in the United States. But the problem is Axors is somewhat similar to contracts for difference, which are popular outside of the United States in many countries. And basically they are a contract where two parties come together and they agree that what they get paid out is according to the change in price of something. Here in the United States, they're not very popular because they're being regulated as credit default swaps. And credit default swaps, since Dodd-Frank, they're unlawful for an American to be a party in that transaction. So essentially what that means is that we are going to have to exclude US users, at least initially, until we can find a way to get to the Trump administration or something and get them to change the law. But what we're going to do is create a foundation overseas, and then that foundation will publish the software and conduct the token sale. And we're going to do it in a way that excludes Americans, basically. So what that means is that maybe an IP address will be checked, or maybe your proof of address is going to be checked. And with that, if we can detect that you're outside of the US, then we're going to go ahead and allow you to create a token account, essentially, or a token wallet. But if not, then you're kind of out of luck in the United States. But I hope, with the current environment, there is a lot of talk about changing the regulations here in the US. So I'm hoping at some point in the future that will be changed. But for now, we can attack the rest of the world. So here's what we would spend 400,000 that I introduced earlier if we were to get it. So the first priority is really the token sale. There's a token sale legal fees itself, so that involves doing a memorandum and reviewing all of our marketing material, make sure it's compliant, make sure that the contracts that we present to the token sale recipients cover all of our bases. We have to set up a website to conduct the token sale, that's obvious. The fact that we have to go international creates some additional costs. So in order for me to work as an American citizen abroad, I have to jump through a few hoops. So we have to probably create one or two more additional companies. And then, of course, we have to promote the token sale. And if we're doing it internationally, we do have to travel probably to Europe and Asia to promote it. And then if we got our 400,000, I would spend a lot of it on continuing the development of a protocol. We're also developing an example of a miner so that somebody can use it as an example to be a miner, and it's as little work as possible for people to get started doing that. Also, we're not expecting to be the actual app distributor. So we're not going to be a distributor, and we're going to be more of an open source software foundation. And the only part of it that we're involved with directly is more the token sale. So we're expecting there to be app distributors that actually take our UI example and make it specific to a country or market, but we're providing an example app that actually can interact with the protocol and do everything correctly. So that's what we'd spend it on. In terms of where we are right now, we have started the protocol work, we've started the UI, we have an example app that I could show you guys later, or we're also working on the miner as well. But I would say we've just started. We have a lot of work to do, and I would say it's going to be probably about a year. Assuming we get this funding, I would say it's about a year that we'd be somewhere in between an alpha and beta in terms of our protocol. So I looked at a couple of brokerages, and I found that if you take their assets under management and multiply it by 2.5%, that is approximately their market cap. So that being said, what is reasonable to expect that we could capture as investors in this platform? By that logic, you could say, well, $40 billion, if it's managed by the protocol, then we can expect to capture $1 billion. Okay, but the other fact is that our token will be necessary to hold to even invest in an Axor. So basically, the assets under management are going to be the market cap of the token. Whatever percentage of that you hold is going to be basically your investment value. Now, I don't expect that us as developers or you as an investor would hold on to a huge percentage of these tokens. I imagine that they are going to be sold off so that we only really hold ourselves a small percentage of the total market cap of the tokens. But it gives you a sense that there is tremendous value potential here as an investor, and we hope that you'll consider our opportunity. And I thank you for your time and hope to hear from you soon. Take care.